Okay, Lotus.
Howdy.
I don't know why we're having such a hard time with this tonight. Okay, Titus, so far looking good.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay, Keith, there's Keith.
More than a white square, huh?
You are. I see you all now. I see everybody, except I do see a white square from somebody that just joined.
It sounds like you're having a bandwidth problem, so as it gets more and more demanding, you're losing more.
Well, so then is there bandwidth being used elsewhere?
I mean, I've got the chat room open, but other than that, not much.
In your house?
Yeah, the chat room doesn't take anything.
No, there's Vivian, Daniel. Okay, I take it that's Leanne. Leanne, are you there?
Yep, she's there.
Okay, so this is the best I've gotten it so far, so I think we're just going to go with this. Hopefully it records right.
Is my
Leanne is.
my mic's working?
Your mic's working. Leanne, if you could, I don't know if your mic, if you can get closer or speak up a little bit. You're a little quiet.
I'm quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had thought too. You're just a little bit quieter than everyone, it seems.
Yeah.
Hey Hawk, it seems like my video was cutting out the last couple times.
Can you see now?
I can, but yeah, everything's fine. But last time it was fine, but then my video cut out twice.
Huh.
So.
Are you on Wi-Fi, Daniel?
Yeah, and I don't have a hardwire connection right now.
Because you're stealing internet from your neighbor?
Well, that and like I said before, I've been banished to the living room because my girlfriend's trying to sleep right now.
All right. Well, I don't know where Alan is, but I did invite him. But if anybody hears from him, send him a link to the Hangout, and he should be able to get in. I'm going to go ahead and start the show. You guys ready?
Well, wait, Hawk.
Yeah.
If my thing starts freezing, should I just keep coming back in and out?
Yeah, just hop out and hop back in. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Keith, are we ready?
We are.
Okay, so I am going to start broadcasting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, welcome to Photo Talk Plus episode 8. I am Thomas Hawk. I am here as always with my trusty co-host Lotus Carroll. Hi, Lotus.
Hello.
And we have a great show for you tonight. We've got a wonderful interview with Daniel Krieger coming up, also known as Smooth Dude on Flickr, for those of you that know him there. And a wonderful lineup of New York panelists tonight. So, and as always, Keith Barrett from the Vidcast Network, who's streaming live for us. I am going to post right now, if you guys in the room want to reshare this, I am going to share an announcement that we're broadcasting. And Lotus, why don't you introduce who we have tonight?
Okay, well, I'll start off with the panelists, then we'll end off with our special guest. And when I introduce you, tell everybody where they can find you on the web. Okay, so I'll start off with Vivian Goutsois.
I'm Vivian Goutsois. My main website is nythroughTheLens.com. But you can pretty much find me these days on Google Plus because anything I post ends up on Google Plus anyway, so that's pretty much that.
Okay, great. We also have Titus Winters.
Hi, I'm Titus Winters. I'm a Googler and a photographer here in New York, and you can find me professionally at tituswinters.com.
Sweet. We also have Leanne Staples.
Hi, I'm Leanne Staples, and you can find me at leannestaples.com. I also am a verified name on Google+, and I have a very vast link network there to all the different places you can find me. Also co-founder of Shoot the Street, and I just put out my first digital ebook for free, which is, it's called This Is What Democracy Looks Like. It's a free download through my site.
Sweet, very cool. We've also got Keith Barrett here helping us broadcast.
Hi, thank you. I'm Keith Barrett from vidcast.com and keithbarrett.com and all over Google+, Hangout Addict, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Keith. And our special guest tonight, Daniel Krieger.
Hi, I'm Daniel Krieger. I'm from New York City, and you can find me at danielkrieger.com and also nycfoodphotographer.com, and Smooth Dude on Flickr, Smooth Dude on Twitter, and all those other places. 500 pics, Smooth Dude.
But Google Plus, you're just Daniel Smooth Dude Krieger, right?
Yeah. Just Daniel Krieger. I think it's just Daniel Krieger on Google Plus. Sorry, yeah.
It is. But now that they have nicknames, you might be able to add that in there, Smooth Dude.
Maybe I'll have to add that in. Yeah. Usually, whenever a new thing comes on the internet, I try to grab Smooth Dude before somebody else does.
All right. Well, I am pleased with tonight's show. This is Vivian's first official hangout, so I've been a big fan of hers for a long time, which is nice to see her here. And I also like that we have a lot of New Yorkers. Everybody here is, a lot of people here are New Yorkers. Lotus, you're not a New Yorker, unless Austin.
Unfortunately, no.
No. New York is pretty cool, though.
Too much of a southerner.
So, but everybody here, Titus and Leanne and Vivian and Daniel are all from New York. So we'll get maybe a little bit of a New York perspective on tonight's show. So. With that, and I'm Thomas Hawk, I think I already said that, and Lotus Carroll, you can find me at thomashawk.com. And Lotus Carroll, where can people find you?
I'm at lotuscarroll.com. You can still get to my website from sarcasticmom.com, but finally got my name as a domain, which is, just years and years behind the times, but.
So you're not as sarcastic of a mom as you used to be anymore, huh?
No, my name doesn't make me any different.
Okay. All right, and joining us a little bit later, since this is a New York show, we are going to have two special guests, Derek Jeter and Billy Joel. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so let's get right into tonight's show. Story number 1, circle sharing on Google+. I shared my circles this week. I shared them when they hit 500 photographers, when they hit 1,000 photographers, and 1,500 photographers. And so I think most of you in here were in that group as photographers. And this story got a lot of traction. It was one of the top stories, even though it was mine, on Google Plus this week. And I love sharing my circles. And so I wanted to talk about circle sharing and get your guys' perspective. I think it's a great way that I can use my following and pass along all these wonderful, talented photographers that I find, and share them with the rest of Google+. What do you guys think about circle sharing on Google+?
I think it's a great way to build community. I think it creates a lot of good feelings, and it helps people find others that they haven't found anymore. It's hard to find those people in that specific interest area. So if there's somebody you trust the word of who says, hey, these are photographers I follow, that's something you can trust and helps you find people. But I'm curious because you also posted kind of a long disclaimer.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. I got a lot of heat. I don't like watermarking and stuff like that on the photos. It just, for whatever reason, it drives me crazy. It's like a pet peeve of mine. And so a lot of people were, concerned that they got left out, and sometimes I'd see them and they watermarked, and sometimes I just didn't see somebody or didn't know somebody, and I get a lot of people that kind of got angry with me last time, and I got a lot of private comments. And
Right, so see, I've heard people say both things. I've heard some people say they really like to share circles because of the good feelings and how it's community building, but I've also heard people say, I don't share circles because it creates bad feelings.
Yeah,
so I think there's both ideas.
I actually,
in here, have you shared circles?
I actually don't share circles for that reason. I really obviously appreciate people who share circles because I've been on that end of, I guess, the receiving end of it. But I've also been on the end where, someone has shared an amazing circle and maybe hasn't included me or other people that I felt should have been in it. And so I can completely understand sort of the other side of the coin there. And, you know, I do know a lot of people on Google Plus that definitely get angsty when very popular circles are shared because inevitably somebody always gets left out. But I can see both ends, so I think it's a very difficult position to be in. Because I do kind of want to share circles, but then I don't want to leave people out. So I don't know. I think it's something that's constantly going to change over time. You know my feelings on it.
I had that same experience that Thomas had. When circles first came out for sharing, I did a lot of it. But then, I like Thomas, I had people that complained that they thought they belonged in it and they didn't belong in it. And then there are others who share circles, but rather than promote them as these are my people I follow, they try to promote them as these are the best people in all of Google Plus to follow. And that creates heat, too. So I've actually backed off on sharing circles because of those very same reasons.
Yeah.
Thomas, when you do it, how do you decide who you're putting in those circles?
You know, I just go along, and as I use Google Plus day in and day out, I find somebody here or there or somebody, and you know, as I find new photographers, I'll just delve into their stream, and if I like what they have, and I've got kind of a narrow criteria. You know, I'm looking for photographers that don't watermark or do signatures. I'm looking for photographers that mostly post their own photos. I don't like photographers as much that post a lot of other people's work and not their own.
Right.
I'm looking for people that they don't post like 80 times a day, or people that post like 80 billion other stories that are not even about photography, and then the occasional photo. So I just like a nice, clean Google Plus stream that primarily has nice, big thumbnail photos. I don't like people that you know, just post a link to Flickr or 500px or you know, small little thumbnail. So I just like stuff that looks really attractive and beautiful.
What don't you like about watermarks?
Oh, they just drive me nuts. They detract. I look at the photo and my eye immediately goes to it, and it's just, I've seen so many photos over the years, and it's just, I want to see the full photo as a sort of a clean aesthetic experience.
Right. I totally agree with you on that, and I mean, not to get off the topic and onto watermarks, but I will say that I just got an email from somebody who saw one of my photos that I shot a Pakistani wedding here in America, and the photos are in like there's a photographer in Pakistan using my photos in like their studio.
Does he look like you?
Not of me, the photos that I took at the wedding.
I'm kidding, you know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if watermarking them would have helped, but it was before I was watermarking my images. So I watermarked them on my blog. I still don't really on Flickr or Google Plus for that same reason that you know, just because aesthetically I just don't like it. It's not clean looking. But I don't know. I feel like I need to start again.
We could do a whole show on watermarking, and we'd probably lose half the audience for the show. So that's what we probably do. So I don't want to get too much.
It's a hot topic.
I know. I don't want to get too much into watermarking.
Okay.
Titus, what do you think about sharing circles? Have you shared any circles? What's your thoughts?
I haven't much yet. Part of my feelings on sharing circles was really governed initially by the fact that the stream was just so fast and so intense. Like I felt like I was losing, you know, the people that I knew in real life that I wanted to read everything, and just inundated with wonderful photographers and other people, but just couldn't keep up. So I haven't really gone back and evaluated like my feelings about circle sharing and how to approach that since the feature for the equalizer feature for streams came out. And that's really, that was the big thing for me to change my whole usability pattern for Google+.
So you had your circles that you wanted to give more emphasis, and you just moved the slider up for them and turn the volume down on some of the other ones. Yeah, that's a great feature. That's a great feature.
Yeah, I mean, before that, there were a lot of people that were probably shared with me that now I would love to be following, that I passed on because I was just having too much trouble keeping up as it was.
You know what I felt like helped me too is I was kind of sloppy with my circles for a while, and so I was relying on the mainstream sometimes even, like more than my circles because I wasn't maintaining them well enough for them to work as well as they should. And so I've actually gone back and I've taken more control over my circles, and I've made a habit out of using them very often, so that I feel like that helps a lot with that too. So that, there's that circle of people I don't want to miss. Like you said, you don't want to miss, that real life friend circle or whatever. And so then I can still add, Thomas's recommendations, but I'll just create a separate circle for them, and they're like trial.
Yeah.
But they're in a separate circle, so I can just kind of see them separately. Of course, if you're watching your mainstream, it's still going to mix all in, but.
Yeah. And if you have that separate circle, turned on to sample, and you have your, friends and family set to show everything, then yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, so I think you have to remember to control that stuff.
I've got one circle on Google Plus with just Lotus in it, and I turn that volume all the way up as high as it would go.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you mute it because it's just so obnoxious.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, what I usually do when somebody shares a circle with me that I trust, like Robert Scoble shared his photographers, and Robert takes a lot of time curating things, and I liked it. And so I took his circle and I added it to my Google Plus, but I kept it as his circle. I didn't mix it in with everything else.
Right.
So then I could just, over the next 4 or 5 days, when I have time, I would go to that circle and I'd kind of look through it and I'd cherry pick out the people that I thought were good and then add them into my other circles. And then after I did that for 4 or 5 days and I felt like I got like a lot of the good people, then I just dumped the whole circle and just deleted it. And so, I think that helps too, because sometimes you add a circle and it just all of a sudden it just takes over your stream.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I do like sharing circles. I see my sister in the chat room, by the way, and I have to say happy birthday to her because it was her birthday yesterday. So.
Happy birthday, April.
Yeah. So, anyways, before we get on to story number 2, I'm going to stop here and recognize one of our sponsors, and that's Smug Mug.
I didn't talk about circle sharing.
Oh, Leanne, what do you think about circles?
But my circles are a little bit of a mess, so I hesitate to share circles lately. I have shared my street photography circle, my New York City photographer circle, and Occupy Wall Street. For me, my circles are such a mess that I feel like, just kind of sharing this big uncurated thing is not very helpful. And until I kind of get my circles in order, I probably won't share again for a little while. But my problem right now is that I get so much spam, I almost don't want to share a circle because I think that, it's kind of like a virus that people are going to get spammed as a result.
So you think if you share a circle, people don't like seeing that?
No, I think if I share a circle that I have a lot of followers who spam and that they're going to find another group of people to spam.
Because you have so many people that follow you that like to send out a lot of spam.
Yeah.
She has cooties and she doesn't want to give it to the rest of them.
Yeah. Right.
How thoughtful of you.
Leanne is very popular in Indonesia, apparently. So, nothing against Indonesia for all our Indonesia audience tonight. Anyways, well, thank you, Leanne. That's great. And so with that, I'm going to get into Smug Mug, one of our sponsors. I have to say, I have had a blast this week. I've finally gotten around to setting up my own Smug Mug account. So this is the first time in ever that I have ever sold prints. So I am, I've done some like custom work for some clients before, but I have never sold prints. And so I spent most of this week setting up my Smug Mug account, and I love it. I love it. The biggest reason why I didn't want to handle prints before is I just didn't want to deal with fulfillment. I didn't want to deal with having to send it to a lab and get it printed and mail it to somebody. And Smug Mug, they set it all up for me. It's turnkey. Plug it in, turn it on, set my own prices. They handle all of the printing. It's done with Bay Photo, which is a wonderful lab here locally. And people can just go there, buy prints, and they pay me 85% of the markup, which is just I'm used to getting with Getty Images, they give me 20%, which is just almost a crime. That's why Titus Google's got to do a stock photography offering. So,
Yes.
since
I'll keep that in mind.
Since I know Titus is the one in charge of making those sorts of decisions, right? Yeah. So, and of course, Vic and Dotra, when you're watching, let's hurry up with that. No, I'm kidding. But 85% is a great payout. So I love, I dig Smug Mug. Lotus, I know you're setting up your own account and selling prints there too.
Yeah, I love that they handle everything. That was whenever I thought about doing it before. The whole idea of having to do it myself was the scary part, and I thought I would just screw it all up. That's just so nice.
It is so easy, and I'm so happy, and all the people at Smug Mug that make us feel like family. And I mean, Trey had already been selling his pictures there, and Colby and Jarvie and all these people that we know that are, they've had such a great time with it. So I'm really pleased that I got mine set up. That's our plug this week for our first sponsor, Smug Mug. I couldn't be happier. You can check out my prints if you want to buy Thomas Hawk prints. They're for sale now. So
go get your new wallpaper for your house.
There we go. Trey Ratcliffe was my first client on Smug Mug. So
isn't that cute? Your boyfriend.
I know it.
Thomas, you selling the portrait you took of me on there?
I shouldn't I, Smoothie?
It'll be your best seller. No, don't sell it.
That thing, let me check my stats, Smooth Dude, because that thing has already sold 150 prints of your face. Everybody wants that in their apartment.
I got one.
I'm sure that's what everybody wants for Christmas.
Wait, look, and it's mostly women that are buying it, Daniel. Anyway, so on to story number 2. Story number 2, Trey Ratcliffe again comes up, and Trey did a post this week from Bangkok. A beautiful photo that he took way up high in one of the skyscrapers and shot down. And I don't know about you guys, but I love getting up on top of buildings in skyscrapers and shooting down and shooting these views. And I know New York has a few skyscrapers, actually.
Just a few.
One or two, yeah.
I've been there. And do you guys have any tips for getting up on top of buildings and things like that, and in New York specifically, and just in general?
One spot that I really like that's got some great views that I was going to recommend is, everybody always goes on the Brooklyn Bridge when they come to visit the city, but a cool spot that not as many people go to is the Manhattan Bridge. And if you go, you can take your bicycle, if you have a bicycle, and there's some awesome views of Chinatown, right in the beginning of the Manhattan Bridge. That's one spot that I really like to shoot from. So that was one suggestion in New York City that I liked.
Guys, do you actually climb up on the bridge, Daniel?
No, I'm not. I don't do that, but only where I'm allowed to go. I'm not as crazy as you, Hawk.
What about the rest of you?
I'll go up as high as I can get anywhere.
The
Yeah.
Manhattan
I think
Bridge.
I've heard a lot of people. Go ahead, Vivian.
The Manhattan Bridge is actually one of my favorite bridges to take photos from, because it actually has a pedestrian walkway, and there's kind of this odd space between the safety fence and the barrier that you can, put your lens between and get really good shots of Chinatown. And there's a lot of rooftop graffiti all over Chinatown, and you just get these amazing views there. But in terms of touristy places to go, I definitely think that Top of the Rock has the best views of New York City skyscrapers.
That is great.
I tell people Top of the Rock definitely over Empire State Building, because at least you get the Empire State Building from Top of the Rock, and it's just fantastic.
The other nice thing with Top of the Rock, at least the time that I went, maybe it's different with the Empire State Building depending on when you go, but is it seems like it's much more open, and you're out there on the roof in the open air and stuff like that, and it's a lot bigger place to shoot from.
Yeah. Top of the Rock has views all over.
There's a bar on Madison Avenue and 27th Street, I think, and I don't know how many floors up. It might only be 25, 30 floors up, but they have an outdoor bar restaurant there that gets nice views, especially night.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, I find that hotels are a great resource because a lot of hotels have bars at the top, and you can get up there, and if you can, you buy a drink and you can get out and shoot. In Trey's post, he talked about that he was in a bar at the top of I think it was a hotel, and this was a nice trick. He said he asked the bartender to turn the lights off for a second so you don't get the reflections on the glass when you took that picture.
I think the correct answer there from an optics perspective might be to carry a big black sheet with you.
That's true. That's true.
Like, if you hide yourself in a little cape or use your jacket, you can block out all of the rest of the reflections and you don't freak out all of the other patrons.
You know what I do sometimes is if you take your shirt off, you can put it right up against the lens and hold on there with it when you shoot. And it covers it out. Just wrap it around the lens. While
And then you don't. And then you get kicked out of the bar.
Or taking off your shirt.
Hey, it's San Francisco.
I'll try that trick next time.
I'm kidding. I don't really take my shirt off, but I have in the past though brought a T-shirt with me in my bag, and I'll put the T-shirt around the lens while I shoot through, which kind of does the same thing.
Anything dark is a good idea.
The other thing I would say is even if hotels don't have a bar, don't necessarily be afraid of them, because I found that many times getting on the roof of hotels is one of the easiest things you can do, and oftentimes if you can't get to the roof, try the service elevator, because the service elevator will get you as high as you can go. Try the stairs, and I've shot from the roofs of many hotels that don't have bars, and you can get wonderful, wonderful views up there. And if you get arrested, just have Lotus pay your bail.
Yep. I have a big fund just for that because it happens so often to me.
Yes. Lotus and Kimberly Shoemaker got on top of a couple of roofs, I understand.
We went on the roof of the Capitol building, but we don't like to talk about that.
Right, but I think getting up high when you shoot is a great way to do it. And New York has so many buildings. I don't know how many of them you can get into. I know I've shot from the Empire State Building and top of the Rock, and the World Trade Center before it was blown up. But there's a lot of great places I know to shoot, and if you look around, you can find them. So.
Next time you're in New York, swing by the Google office. Our building is pretty big and nicely positioned.
Oh, Titus, what floor are you guys on?
I have a 10th floor view looking south over the financial district from Chelsea.
Nice, nice. And have you tried getting on the roof of your building yet?
I haven't gotten to the roof, but I have been up on the 15th floor. I think there's 16 in that building.
I got some wonderful roof shot views in New York. I got on the roof of the New York City Athletic Club and could shoot down on Central Park, which was wonderful. I loved that. And Smooth Dude, you were up there with me that night.
Yeah.
Remember
it was
that?
awesome.
Yeah,
really nice views, yeah. Another one that's, you can't get quite as high, but the Time Warner Center, you can kind of go up and get some decent views. And if you want to spend a lot of money, you can go into Per Se, and Per Se has a beautiful view a few floors up of like the 59th Street Columbus Circle. It's gorgeous.
That's if you can get a reservation to get into Per Se.
Well, you can go to the bar. They have like a bar where they take walk-ins, and you can just kind of have a couple cocktails and get a few shots, and Thomas Hawk will take his shirt off and get kicked out of there real quick.
Oh, Per Se, this sounds like high-end New York City. I like it.
It's Thomas Keller's restaurant, French Laundry. It's his other restaurant, Per Se.
Oh, well, yes, we do know French Laundry here in Napa Valley.
Right. It's his other spot.
Right.
Also, the Metropolitan Museum, it's not very high, but they have an outdoor area that is nice for getting a view.
I think
from there is. Go ahead.
I think I got on the roof of, I think it was the Meridian. I want to say it was the Meridian Hotel as well in New York, which was wonderful, and I shot down from there. I think there's like a gym or something at the top, and you can kind of go out and then get your way up. Or it might have been another hotel, I don't know. Anyways, well, getting on roofs, getting up high, I think as photographers, Trey had a wonderful shot from Bangkok. I try to get up high on buildings in every city I go to if I can. When I was in Dallas, I got up where they have that big neon Pegasus. And I think you can get some really great shots. So think about that the next time you're someplace or visiting and figure out where you can get up high. So that's story number 2. Story number 3, Google Plus officially hits 90 million users. That's a lot of users. Kaboom! 90 million. So it looks like Vivian just dropped out. I'm sure she'll be right back.
She was mad it wasn't 100 million.
Yes. 90 million. What do you guys think about this? I mean, Google Plus has been growing so fast. Do you think this is a good thing, a bad thing? Are you seeing more activity on your photos, less activity on your photos? Is it, what do you guys think?
I think you still get out of it what you put into it. Like, during times like if I was on vacation into last month and didn't spend all that much time, looking at other people's stuff and commenting there. The traffic to my work was certainly down. But at the same time, there are a lot of people out there now, and it does show.
It's a lot of people. It's been explosive growth. I hear what you're saying, though, Titus, and I agree with it. I've had people that I know that will say, oh, well, I joined Google Plus, and I'm not really getting the traction there. And I'll talk to them, and I said, well, have you interacted with other people? Are you contributing? Are you commenting on other people's photos? Are you plus-1ing other people's photos? Say, well, no, I don't have time for that. So, I don't know. I think you do have to put in to get out. It certainly is bigger. I mean, 90 million is a lot of people. I mean, I've noticed more and more. I'm finding new people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, what's your activity like on your Google Plus compared to your Flickr?
Far, far more on Google Plus.
But you also have a lot more followers on Google Plus, right?
I do, and I'm also a lot more active on Google Plus.
Right.
So,
I'll say personally that I have a lot more followers on Google Plus than I do on Flickr.
Right.
But I still have way more activity on my photos on Flickr. But part of that is also Flickr I've been using for years, and I have a certain following. I'm hoping to get that in Google Plus, and I need to start interacting more with, I guess, a lot of the people that have me in their circles. But so that's been my experience.
Get that +1 finger working there, Smoothie.
Yeah.
Start +1.
I try. I do. Every once in a while, I give you one on one of your photos.
If I'm lucky.
If you're lucky.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think the more people, the better. I saw that, I think it was Anderson Cooper mentioned Google Plus on his show. This is, I guess, was one of the first times we started to see these sort of television personalities talking about Google Plus. And so, now, do we have Vivian back, or did we lose her? We lost her?
She's back.
Oh, she's back.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
back.
Okay, I can't see her for whatever reason. Can everybody else see her? Can the chat room see her? Everyone can see Vivian? Okay.
Yes.
I think it should work. Okay, well, anyways, 90 million, big number. And with that, story number 4, there was a very popular post that was put up this week by, I know, this is a hard name. Does anybody know how to say this name?
Mihailo, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Radicevic, something like that. I know I'm butchering it. I'm sorry, but all he did was put a quote up, which got a number of responses, and the quote was, "The quickest way to make money at photography is to sell your camera," by Anonymous.
So negative.
I know, it is very negative, isn't it?
Well, I think when I thought about it, I just thought all it says is anything worth doing takes time and effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I agree with that.
I mean, Smooth,
It's not a bad thing.
you're a pro. You're a professional photographer. You make your living at this, so you wouldn't agree with that, would you?
No, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I have a friend who's interested in getting into photography, and I kind of said the first thing I would suggest into photography as a profession, and I said the first thing I would suggest is to not do that, like, if you want my honest advice. It's a really tough, it's a tough, going, trying to make it, but, I mean, if you really want it, you should go for it, but it's not an easy thing to make a living. It's easy to make a few dollars here and there, but to make a good living, it's very competitive. It's a tough thing. But no, I don't agree with that quote. I thought it was kind of funny when I read it, but I don't think it meant to. I don't think it's meant
not
to
serious.
Yeah, it's not meant to be taken that seriously that people should get upset by it. I mean, I think it's a
Right.
little, tongue in cheek.
It is, yeah, it is hard. I mean, I like you, I get a lot of people that ask me, they say, well, give me some advice about, getting into photography as a career. And usually my first piece of advice is don't quit your day job.
Right. Yeah.
Try to do it on the side because it is so hard and it is so competitive. And unless you have, you got to have a lot of things. You got to have talent. You got to have luck. You got to be in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Especially fine art is especially tough. But
Fine art's so difficult. One of the hardest things. Yeah.
So I mean, you could shoot weddings, but even that, you got to work up. You got to build a reputation. It takes time. And so I don't know. I think it is hard. Leanne or Vivian, what do you guys think?
I have to agree that it's very hard. I made a living last year for the first time being a photographer, and I can definitely say that it took an immense amount of work to do what I did. So it definitely is not easy. So when I read the quote, it was funny, but it's kind of tongue-in-cheek true at the same time, especially if you're just starting out and you don't know, I definitely knew what my niche was, but if you don't know what your niche is and you're kind of not focused and you're not good with social networking or socializing or being in the right place at the right time, I think it's definitely more of an uphill battle.
Yeah, well, it is tricky. I've sold my photos in the past, but never really concentrated on doing just that until actually about 2 months ago. I really started making a concerted effort, and for the Christmas holiday season, I was able to actually sell a fair amount of photos, and I don't know, quitting your day job is not advised. It is tricky. It's very hard because I don't think people nowadays, they're bombarded with images. They don't think about buying images most of the time. They think about stealing them a lot. And it is rough unless you choose a form of commercial photography. And then it's another story as well. That's not easy.
It is hard. It is hard. Titus, do you sell pictures?
I don't sell images. I work commercially when I do work. Making prints never quite appealed to me, and the thing that really does, I love to shoot, but I also love to meet people, and I love to, be part of their events, whatever those things are, and go to parties and do things that I wouldn't do otherwise. So those are the things that really appeal to me. So I do portraits and events and things like that. But selling stuff, that's a whole different sizzle to try to work up.
Okay. Well, speaking of selling things, everybody has to back up their photos, right?
Yeah, hope so.
You should be.
We should be. Everybody should be backing up their photos. I know I'm backing up my photos all the time. And the way I back up my photos is with my Drobos. And, right, William? You want to come say hi?
Hi.
All right. You've seen my Drobos, right?
Yeah, they're really cool. They blink red.
They blink red sometimes. No, never. I'm totally joking. No, they do blink red when you start them up, but also when a hard drive goes out, it blinks red, and you take it out and swap a new one in and recover. So, anyways, Drobo is another one of our sponsors, which we're grateful for. See you, William. And I've got 5 of them. I think they're great. They're a great way to store your photos, a great way to back things up. It's, you know, data is replicated, so if a hard drive goes out, you just pull it out. And so we are happy to have Drobo sponsoring the show. Check them out. If you don't have a good backup storage plan, consider getting a Drobo.
Well, tell Drobo that I'd happily take a test drive of, you know, 4 or 5.
Oh, a test drive. Okay.
Yeah.
You said 4 or 5 of them?
5 test drives?
Yeah, I
Well,
want
yeah.
stuff free.
Yeah. Yeah,
I use the Drobo system as well, actually.
do you, Daniel?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, Drobo system from professional photographer Daniel Krieger. There's an endorsement. Okay, well, speaking of Daniel and speaking of Drobo, this is the part of the show where we get into spending some time with him. And I think it's interesting we have the question about making money in photography, and I'm going to start off with the first question, Daniel. And that is, you were not always a professional photographer. Can you tell us a little bit about your path, you know, and how you decided to transition from doing something else to doing full-time professional photography?
Right. So I was actually a psychology major in school, and I just used to play around with a 35mm camera, just shoot a roll of film here and there, and eventually once digital started, I got like a little digital point and shoot, and my mom actually had, it was like a Nikon Coolpix 8000 or something like that. It was an expensive camera at the time. I think it was like 4 megapixels, but she let me borrow it. I think it was like an $800 camera, but it was nice. You know, it took pretty good pictures, and then I started using that, and just I really got into photography through the digital. Just because I could shoot so much more than I was shooting in film. And honestly, I mean, I tell this story all the time. Flickr and online, just like, you know, online photography sites like that is really what got me started. And I joined up and I just started doing these little photo shoots here and there and trying to sell a print here and there. And I bought a Nikon D70. That was my first digital SLR. And just every year I kept upgrading my camera, and I started getting more and more photo gigs, and I started working I had a day job. I was working at the Department of Health, and I eventually went part-time because I couldn't balance the photography and that work. And, you know, the plan was always to be a professional photographer. Once I started making money from it, I was like, wow, this is great. People are paying me to do something creative. And it's been about 3 years since I've been full professional, and, you know, knock on wood, I've been doing very well. I have 2 aspects to my business. I shoot weddings, and I do a lot of editorial work, mostly food photography. So like last year I booked over 50 weddings. I have other people shooting weddings for me as well right now.
Wow, 50 weddings. That's almost a wedding a week.
Yeah, it was a lot. I had about 10 to 12 of those were other people were shooting them for my company, but the majority I shot myself. But then on top of that, I probably had about, I would say, at least 150 editorial shoots in 2011 or more maybe. I'm good at working. I'm not good at keeping numbers and calculations and things like that. I just like working. So the editorial stuff I shoot for the New York Times and for several of the other publications in New York City.
How did you get hooked up with the New York Times? That's a big publication.
So again, I mean, you know, if somebody was starting out, and, you know, people do ask me a lot of, like, how do you start out? How did you start out? I just started shooting small little editorial assignments for, like, a local, it was called the Brooklyn Paper. It was a local newspaper. And, you know, they paid crap, but it was, you know, it was a chance to go out there and do assignments. And then, you know, you just make connections and people, and as the years went on, I eventually, like, a photo got picked up for the New York Times, and then I just kept following up with them, and I had a couple meetings with the photo editor there, and eventually, it's about 1.5 years ago, they gave me my first assignment, and since then I shoot for the Times a couple times a month about that. You know, luckily it's whenever I want an assignment, I'm, you know, again, knock on wood, I can usually ask for one and they'll give me one. Just depending on how busy I am. But at this point, I usually I don't go out seeking work. I usually just am dealing with the work that's being asked. Like people will email me, which is a nice thing. And then just for me right now, my next thing is I'm trying to get some, photograph some books, like mostly cookbooks, things like that.
So your pictures of food in cookbooks?
Yes, yeah.
Do you do any stock photography? Do you sell stock photography?
I do a little bit on Getty, and it generates a small amount of income, but I think it was Vivian was saying you got to find your, niche. I think you can't, that's one thing I suggest to people starting out, like a website. You go to a beginner's photographer's website, and there's 5 different categories. There's nature, and there's abstract, and there's portraits, and there's weddings. I say, listen, just try to find one thing and just go with that and keep shooting that. You're not going to be a master at 5 different things. I only shoot weddings and food pretty much, and I feel like that's even too much. Sometimes I say, listen, I have to pick one of them to really become a total master at that and just excel at that. And luckily, I've been making I make a lot more money as a photographer than I think I would have at any other job, that I could have imagined. So luckily, I'm doing very well, but I probably could even be doing better if I just picked that one thing. But it's tough because I have a lot of work in both fields, weddings and food. But
So
that's
even
my thing is just choose one thing and just go with that.
Even in downtime, do you try not to shoot anything else just to keep yourself focused?
You know what? It's funny. Well, today I photographed a 200-pound pig being butchered.
Nice.
It was really cool. I'll try to share the photos. It was from a magazine that's going to be coming out in the spring. But I'll try to put them on Photo Plus or whatever when it comes out on the website for this. So I did that, and then I shot a portrait of a chef at another restaurant, and then I came home and I met with 2 potential wedding clients here at my apartment, and then I handled a bunch of emails, and now I'm doing this with you guys. So, and then tomorrow I have about 2 shoots, I think. So it's pretty. I don't really have a lot of free time, but
I was going to say downtime was the problem there, huh?
Well, the funny thing is, whenever I meet people for weddings, they always say, "Oh, the winter must be so relaxing for you." And I'm like, "Yeah." But I end up doing more editorial work than I do during the spring and the summer. But the thing about it is, it's tough. You don't know when the economy's gonna. The economy's not great, but I don't know when things are gonna slow down for me. So I can't really. It's hard to turn down work. It's hard to say oh, I'm gonna take this off. But I try to shoot a little bit for fun when I'm on vacation or when I'm out of the country. But most of the shooting that I do is all all for business.
So Smooth Dude, I gotta ask, what slaughtering a pig?
Butchering, slaughtering.
Butchering a pig?
Yeah, it was already. It came to the restaurant. It was already dead.
Oh, it was already dead. So,
yeah.
But they cut it all up and stuff.
Yeah, they broke it down. So it's a restaurant out in Queens, and it's called snout to tail. They basically try to use the entire animal for dishes.
Right.
And the story is about the story for the magazine is about that. Oh. And so I shot some finished dishes afterwards, but the main thing is not every restaurant anywhere really breaks down an entire pig at the restaurant. So and then I photographed it, but it was very intense, and it was a long process, a lot of photos, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. It's great. I wouldn't trade it for sitting at a desk, which is what I used to do,
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. Oh. Server connection. Okay, I think we're still here.
Broadcasting?
I hope so. Can everybody in the chat room still see us?
Yeah.
No, it said I had a server failure. Okay. So what other questions do you guys have for Daniel?
So you mentioned that you had more work coming to you than you could handle, and it was coming to you, and you didn't have to go hunt it.
Right.
Do you do any advertising, or is it just word of mouth at this point?
I don't advertise much at all. There's one wedding website that I use. It's called Brooklyn Bride. I've just been using it for a couple of years, and I like it. It's like a small little advertisement I have on it. And for a while, about maybe the last couple of years, I had a small ad on using Google, what is it, AdWords?
AdWords.
So I did that, and it was pretty good, but I think at some point it was probably good 3 or 4 years ago. At some point it's become so expensive if you really want to compete with the people who are willing to put up the most money. And again, luckily I'm in the situation now where if you do a Google search for Brooklyn wedding photographer or Brooklyn wedding photography, I usually come up towards the top. And there's certain wedding photography keywords that I'm pretty high up on, that's what you want. You can't really pay for that. So I haven't really been advertising and much at all in the past year or so. Luckily,
Yeah.
But if someone is starting out, say you're starting out as a wedding photographer, I do tell people, try a Google ad. Give it a couple months, see what happens, because they're effective.
I personally think for professional photographers, I think Google Plus is going to become more and more important as well.
Yeah, definitely.
With the new Search Plus Your World feature, now when people search, you're going to see your connections content on the front page. So, the more context you have, Daniel, the more interfaces that you have with other people that mention you and post and this and that, that's going to influence Google search. So,
right.
I think from a social perspective, all photographers, if you want to, beyond just Google AdWords, but you want to index well, I think the whole game of SEO and search engine optimization and all that's changed a little bit now that something like that comes along.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really like, and I'm trying to use it more and more every day. It's hard. There's so many different things. I wish I was tweeting more. I wish I was using Google Plus more. But then I also have to do my work too. So it's.
Forget about Twitter. Don't worry about Twitter.
No Twitter?
Nobody uses Twitter anyways. No, I'm kidding.
One other suggestion that I say also to people that ask me is have a card on you. If you're trying to become a photographer, have a card on you at all times and give it out to every single person you meet, no matter what, because you never know. I've met somebody a year ago, and I get an email a year later saying, oh, we have this project, and I remember you gave me your card, and I like your website, and let's talk about this project. And you're like, wow, I don't even remember meeting this person, but I'm glad I gave them my card. So that's free advertising right there, and I would say I get a decent amount of business just from meeting people in person and giving out my card.
Interesting. Do you stand in the subway smoothie and hand them out to people as they're walking out?
No, but I haven't done this, but I've thought about I do have an intern who started working for me in the past year, and I've thought about having her go to different places, Kleinfeld's the big wedding dress place. Do you guys know that?
No.
Right. Well, Kleinfeld's is a huge wedding warehouse, but I've thought about sending her out with wedding cards that I have made up and just handing them to women just walking into the place. But I don't know. I feel like, huh?
Ambulance chaser.
Yeah, I thought that might be a little bit too cheesy, or they might be
you're going to where your target audience is.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're going there because they're gonna get married.
Hey.
That's true. Well, what other questions do you guys have for Daniel?
I was going to ask you. I'm going to share my screen because it's kind of about a photo of yours.
Yeah, let's see some pictures too. We want to talk about those specifically.
So this is one, just when I was looking through your photos, that caught my eye that I really like. Can everybody see that? And I was thinking, it's so beautiful, but whimsical and playful at the same time. And I was wondering whether you have just a whole bunch of ideas that you use kind of regularly, or whether you get ideas from the couples, or kind of what you do to come up with cool stuff like this. I love this.
Thanks. So every couple is different, so I try to get a read off of them, how they feel, how they act. I try not to have any specific photo that I do every single wedding. I mean, you definitely have your style, so there's certain things that you kind of do over and over, but like a lot of my photos are more about light and the composition, and then I kind of insert people into them. So I saw, they had that photo booth, and I could just tell, part of doing a lot of photography is you really learn how to see light, and you learn how light is going to affect the photo. And I just saw somebody in that booth, and I was like, wow, that light is going to look beautiful in a photograph. And so I went and took the couple, and I said, hey, let's do a quick photo in the booth. And I put them in there, and I told the groom, I said, this is kind of a staged shot. It wasn't just a candid moment.
Mm-hmm.
I told him to look forward, and I said, just kind of pull the curtain back and give me a nice little smile. And it all happened within like 10 seconds, and she did it, and it came out good. But
it is great, and the light is definitely beautiful in that shot.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of my photography is lighting and finding that like really nice light, or occasionally creating it with like speed lights or strobes.
Yeah, I was going to ask, that shot was found light, because that had a crispness to it that said strobe to me.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, that's just using the light that was coming out of that. It's an actual photo booth, and it's that ambient light that was inside of it. Yeah.
Lovely.
Thanks.
Who has more questions for Daniel?
So one of the things that comes up for me a lot is the difficulty in finding good, let's say, constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, online forums are really good for people, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever seen. And I'd say
Yeah.
10, my favorite photo of all time comments for one that points out you have a lamppost growing out of that bride's head, or, whatever.
Right. Well, I think one of the things is, like I said, when I started, I used groups like Flickr to learn about photography. I've been maybe like about 5 or 6 years ago, I remember emailing people, and what I would do is I would just kind of say, how did you light that? How did you get that specific shot? It was always about certain photos. I wanted to figure out how somebody was able to do that. So I don't know if that really answers your question. You're asking more about critiques on my photos or me?
It's part of the same learning process either way.
Yeah. I think one important thing to do, and something, again, I probably don't do enough of just because I don't have time, is to look at other photographers that are doing what you're doing, or some people that are considered the best, and see what they're doing, try to emulate things that you really like, or and try to figure out how they achieved that light, how they did that lighting scheme, things like that. I think it's good to look at, especially try to look at people you think are better than you, because the goal is, I think, in a creative art form, is to try to become better and better.
Hey, Daniel,
you like that one?
I do. One thing that I want to say is, we've been talking a lot about your work as a professional photographer, doing weddings and shooting, but I knew you back before you were a professional photographer, and the photography of yours that has always impressed me the most is what I would consider your fine art photography, and you're just shooting everyday life in New York, and you, for as long as I've known you, your portraits especially. I know for your clients and weddings, that's terrific, but just your street portraits out on the street, getting in people's faces, the characters that you've been able to capture. I've been, as you know, a huge fan for a long time just of all the great stuff that you've done shooting around the streets of New York, like this stuff.
Thanks. Well, that's how I started. I started just by when I had a day job, I would go out during my lunch hour and just take my camera and I would just shoot and shoot and shoot. And that's basically what I did, like every single day. And just walking up to people and asking them, "Can I take your photo?" Most people say no, but I would usually ask. And I was shooting, I guess, what you would call more fine art stuff, and that's how I got into it. And once people started paying me for it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I love the idea of being able to earn a living doing something where I can be creative, But I mean, yeah, I don't shoot as much of the fine art type stuff anymore. And we were talking about this earlier, and we were saying how difficult it is to be a fine artist. My first few things that I did was I had a couple little fine art shows in like little Brooklyn bars, and it was mostly just my friends coming, and I tried selling things, but nobody really thing. But it was fun, but that's kind of how I started. But I was also like, I don't want to be a fine artist because I realized how absolutely difficult of a path it is to become a fine artist, And I like making money.
Your characters, I mean, like this photograph to me, this is just sort of like a quintessential New York socialite. I mean, it's just a beautiful sort of a photograph,
Thanks. She was, I used to do a little street fashion feature for a website, and that woman was just right in front of Bergdorf Goodman, and she just had this great-looking outfit. You could just tell she just has, she either came from money or she's been wealthy for a few years.
That shot has Bergdorf's written all over it, and not just literally.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
There's a question in the chat from Gary Monroe about how much time you spend editing versus shooting.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't go over the top with my editing. I try to get it right the first time. And I do some tweaking and a little bit of editing afterwards, but I'd say 75% shooting, 25% editing, if I had to give, maybe 60-40, something like that. More than editing, a lot of times it's also culling down. If I shoot an assignment for a magazine, I might take 1,000 photos, but, I only want to give them like maybe 50 to look at, so I have to really carefully cull them down and get that 50, because no editor wants to look at 1,000 photos. Mm-hmm. So you have to find the best 50 that they're going to really like, and then edit all of those. So that's part of the big part of the process.
Now, Smooth Dude, was this a candid moment, or is this an actual posed engagement photo here?
I mean, it was. I set it up a little bit, but I mean, yeah, that's an engagement session.
Right.
But I kind of just told them give her a little kiss, maybe if I couldn't see her face enough, I might tell them to just turn slightly towards me, but it's a little bit posed, a little bit candid, but obviously like the shot is set up.
Sure.
That's my favorite one.
The one in the subway, or this one?
No, when it turned black, I was just joking around.
Oh, there's that trademark Smooth Dude sense of humor. Daniel, what do you shoot with these days?
I have two Nikon D3S bodies, and I also have a Hasselblad 500 that I'll shoot once in a while, and then your favorite camera, the Holga, I'll use every once in a while. But yeah, I wish I had only bought one Nikon D3S, but now I have a pair. But if I had one, I'd get the D4 that just came out. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get the D4. We'll see.
That's an expensive camera.
It's
a lot of money.
It's very expensive. I don't know if I really need it. The Nikon D3S is an amazing camera. The only reason, sometimes people say, why do you have two bodies? If you're shooting a wedding, you have to have at least two bodies. You can't show up to a wedding with one camera. So, and once you start shooting with a camera like the Nikon D3S, it's very hard to go back to even like a Nikon, the D700, which is a great camera, but, it's hard to go back.
The D3S isn't that. I mean, the new one isn't that much better than the D3S, is it? Do you think it is?
The D4.
Yeah.
I don't know a tremendous amount about it, but I mean, I'm sure it's going to be really nice. I know they have like I think there's that like wireless capability where you can just shoot right onto like a laptop or like an iPad. So, I mean, it's got some cool features to it.
There's another question from the chat. What is your go-to lens for the majority of the shots on your G Plus page?
That's tough. There's no real specific lens. I have a 50 millimeter 1.4 Nikon that I really like. I'm sorry. Actually, it's the Sigma 50 millimeter 1.4 is a great lens. And I really love. I have the 45 millimeter tilt shift, which is a 2.8, and that's just. Even if you're not using the tilt shift, like tilt and shift capabilities on it, just the colors on it and the sharpness is just phenomenal. It's just a great lens.
I shot with the Canon 17 millimeter tilt shift in Detroit that I borrowed from Ed.
You like that?
Pet paparazzi. Pet paparazzi? How do you say that, Lotus?
I think it would be Pet Paparazzi, like paparazzi, but he shoots animals.
Pet paparazzi, he does. I love that lens. I thought it was great. I mean, it's pretty expensive. I think I'm going to buy it at some point. I think it's a couple grand. But I like the tilt shift stuff. You know, I can do that in post-production, and I do a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But there's something about, you know, doing it in the camera that I like.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's a great lens. And another one, I know, Thomas, you like shooting pretty wide. I have the Nikon 14 to 24, which is awesome if you're doing like interiors or, you know, it's a great lens for you can even take portraits with it, like close-up portraits. It's just an amazing lens, the 14 to 24 Nikkor. It's a very expensive, big, heavy lens, but it's really nice.
I love my Canon 14. I've got a 14 and a 24 rather than a zoom. I've got a 14.
The primes?
Yeah, the primes, and I love those lenses. Those are great.
Nice. Anybody else got any specific questions?
What do you use to process your photos?
Adobe Lightroom, and then sometimes I'll open it up in Photoshop if I want to like add a layer or, you know, maybe put a texture on a photo or something. But I'd say 95% of all my work goes through Adobe Lightroom.
Sweet. Yeah, I love Lightroom too.
Yeah, and you know, a great program is the Silver FX, the black and white program.
I've never tried that, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it and say they enjoy it.
It's awesome. Yeah, it gives you a lot of different options, and it's pretty cool.
Well, do you have a favorite place to shoot in New York City?
If I'm coming to New York City and it's like my only time, I'd probably go into Dumbo, the area kind of in Brooklyn that's between the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. You have a beautiful view of Manhattan, and then Dumbo is just kind of a really quirky, unique place, and they just have some really cool industrial-looking buildings and some cool streets. It's just I take a lot of engagement sessions there, and you know, just even walking around to shoot for a day, it's a really great spot.
Titus and Vivian, where do you like to shoot in New York? Do you have some favorite spots?
I would definitely agree with Dumbo. Dumbo's a great spot. I did several kind of noir-themed shots down there in the evenings last fall. But Central Park is beautiful, especially if you get in further north out of the places the tourists normally hang out. The North Woods is really lovely. And I kind of like the Meatpacking District.
Yeah, Meatpacking District in the new High Line area is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun place to walk around. That's another. So like I mean, again, it's all about business, I guess, for me. For engagement sessions, the High Line's great because you can also get off the High Line and then start walking around the West Village, which is like a whole different kind of look than the Meatpacking District. So.
Yeah.
But for anyone coming to the city, yeah, like going to the High Line, Meatpacking District, West Village, beautiful streets and everything.
You know, I don't get there as much. Obviously, you guys live there, but I tell you, the few times I've shot in New York, I do love Central Park, and I love Vivian. I saw a photograph of yours that actually I shared it on Trey's show on Monday night. That's got that I don't know what they call it, that walkway with all those trees.
Oh, it's the mall.
The mall. I love shooting the mall. That's such. I've done a number of shots there. I have one in my scrapbook photo on. It was one of my scrapbook images on Google Plus. In winter, especially when all the leaves are gone on those trees.
In Central Park.
In Central Park, yeah.
Yeah, Central Park's beautiful. A great spot in Central Park. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. It's called the Conservatory Gardens. It's in the very northeast end of the park.
I've been there.
And there's not a lot of tourists there. It's beautiful. One of the photos, actually, that black and white wedding photo of the guy dipping the girl that you had showed.
Yeah.
Of mine, that was taken up there.
Vivian, you shot up there?
Yeah, I actually used to live all the way in Upper Manhattan, and I have a lot of shots of the Conservatory Gardens because I feel like, I mean, he's right. There's usually not a lot of people there. Usually, the most people that are there are professional photographers doing wedding shoots because it's just so
Right.
small.
Yeah.
But I definitely like that. I mean, in terms of Central Park, you can't really go wrong because there's just so many different areas to Central Park where you can get vastly different views. But I really like, downtown Manhattan. I like the financial district. I mean, for what I do, I don't do people shooting really, or wedding photography or anything. But I mean, for me, I love Tribeca. I love
Tribeca's, yeah, very cool.
Daniel, I don't know how to ask this question, or maybe I don't know how to answer it is a better way to put it. Somebody's asking, what about weddings these days? What do you charge for a wedding? How do you price a wedding? Any advice to photographers out there that are trying to get into weddings, or all that without giving it later?
If you're trying to get into weddings, I mean, the best thing to do is do some searches, some Google searches around your area. Find people whose work that you think is phenomenal, and ask them if you can assist them or second shoot for them. And that's the first way to how I would start. As far as pricing goes, I mean, it depends on your experience, and it depends on how many weddings you're booking, I guess. A decent wedding photographer, I think, in the New York City area should charge around, I'd say, $3,500 to $5,500, depending on what they're offering and, what you're getting for the package. But yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I have other photographers shooting for my company now, and I charge less for them, and I charge more if you're having me as your photographer. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust someone who says they're a professional wedding photographer and is charging you $1,000 at least in the New York area. I'd be hesitant because it just seems a little weird. But I'd say around $3,500 to $5,500, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in that range. Good.
There was another question. How planned are your outside of church wedding shots? Do you scout? Are they spur of the moment or middle of the street?
I mean, I don't really go scouting or do. I just don't have time to. Some couples ask, do you go to the venue before if you haven't shot there? And I tell them that honestly, I don't really have time to do that. Is that what you're asking? Can you say the question one more time?
It's from the chat. How planned are your outside of church wedding shots? Do you scout, spur of the moment, middle of the street shots?
Yeah, I don't really do any scouting. It's just kind of like if you walk outside of a church after the ceremony and there's nice light, it's not pouring rain out or whatever, and you have a few minutes, I might, grab a couple photos. Some people like doing some posed photos with their family outside the church, so we'll do that. But, lighting is, and the way the light is, the way the wind is, every single day is going to be different, even at the same place. So you really have to play it by ear and
have to be ready to roll with conditions, huh?
Exactly, yeah. And you have to, a lot of it's improvising. And that's one thing that, a way that I sell my skills to somebody for their wedding is I'll say, with a lot of practice, you kind of learn what works and what doesn't work and how to, improvise and problem solve. It's, part of, just with doing a lot of weddings, you learn these things and learn to anticipate and timing. Same thing with a sports photographer. A good sports photographer that's been doing it for a while, they really know exactly when to shoot something and, how things are going to unfold and how they're going to get the best photo before it even happens sometimes.
Okay, well, with that, I am going to have to end the official part of our show. That's all we have time for, but we are going to come right back. I'm going to end this show, and then I'm going to start another Hangout. So everybody in here, jump back in the other Hangout, and we're going to take questions from Daniel from the chat room. All right?
Okay.
So look at my photo stream after I end this. We'll have this up on YouTube, Daniel, pretty soon, and so you can check it out there, and people can watch it and pass it along. But everybody in the chat room, stay put there. You can go to my stream and keep watching, or Keith will keep broadcasting it here on the new Hangout, and we'll take more questions from Daniel. Thank you to Daniel. Thank you to our panelists tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful show, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Okay.
So, Thomas?